The story begins in the city of Cleveland, Ohio,
During the depths of the Great Depression,
it was the 1930s,
a time when jobs were scarce, poverty ran rampant,
and entire neighborhoods of makeshift shacks known as
Hoovervilles spread across the city's industrial landscape, in the shadow of steel mills and railroads.
in the poorest quarters where the city's forgotten lived. Something sinister was about to unfold. The first body appeared in September 1934. A young
Man named Robert Wagner was walking through the grassy expanse near
Jackers Hill in the Kingsbury
Run area, a rough stretch of land east of downtown Cleveland.
known for its transient population.
There, in a shallow depression,
He stumbled upon the upper torso of a decapitated man. The head was missing, so were the lower legs. The victim had been cleanly cut apart with a precision that spoke not of rage, but of skill. The body was wrapped in newspaper, discarded as if it were trash. Police struggled to identify the man.
eventually, fingerprints revealed him as Edward Andrassy, a petty criminal known to local authorities.
Only a few yards away, another torso was found belonging to an unidentified man. Both victims had been decapitated,
The heads never recovered.
and the killings, it turned out, were just the beginning.
By early 1935, Cleveland police were faced with a mounting horror.
On January 26th,
A young boy discovered
the remains of a woman neatly wrapped in two
burlap sacks along the banks of Lake Erie. Only parts of her were found.
Investigators noted the precision of the cuts, the clean dismemberment, and the removal of identifying features. The killer seemed to be taunting the authorities, leaving behind remains in public areas where discovery was inevitable. The press soon gave the murderer a name: the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
Kingsbury Run was the perfect hunting ground,
It was a desolate ravine cutting through the east side of Cleveland,
a place of train yards, shantytowns,
and transient workers, men and women who could vanish without notice. The Mad Butcher seemed to prey specifically on the poor, the homeless, and the forgotten. His victims were not wealthy businessmen or socialites.
They were people living on society's margins, prostitutes.
Drifters and laborers. In September 1935,
Two teenage boys made a grisly discovery in the run.
the remains of a man decapitated and emasculated. His body had been drained of blood. His head never recovered. Just days later,
Another headless body appeared in Kingsbury Run. The killer's pace was quickening,
his brutality intensifying. The newspapers had a field day.
sensational headlines screamed of the torso killer.
Panic gripped the city,
Parents forbade their children from wandering too far.
and transient men began to sleep in groups for safety.
Cleveland was in the grip of fear, and pressure mounted on the police to catch the killer.
Enter Eliot Ness, the legendary Prohibition agent best known for taking down Capone as leader of the Untouchables.
In 1935, Ness was hired as Cleveland's safety director.
Charismatic, politically connected, and celebrated as a crime-fighting hero,
Ness seemed like the perfect man to restore order to a city on edge,
but even Eliot Ness would find himself.
powerless against the faceless Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
The killings continued.
In June 1936, two boys found a decapitated man wrapped in oilcloth.
That July, the remains of another man were discovered in the Cuyahoga River in September.
A young man stumbled upon a woman's torso in an open lot, her legs wrapped neatly in butcher paper.
Over and over, the Mad Butcher displayed his gruesome
Artistry, always dismembering his victims with chilling precision, always removing the head, and often depositing the remains in public areas where they would be found.
The consistency of the mutilations led experts to suggest that the killer had medical or anatomical training.
The cuts were not clumsy, they were clinical. Butchers, surgeons, or morticians were all suspected,
Police scoured hospitals, morgues, and meatpacking plants,
searching for someone whose skills and darkness fit the profile. By 1937, with at least a dozen bodies found,
the butcher's tally of victims had grown.
some were identified Andrassy, Florence Genevieve Polillo, and others, but many remained nameless, known only by grisly nicknames given by police. The tattooed man,
The Lady of the Lake, victim number 8.
the city was on edge, and Ness,
Under mounting political pressure, decided to act decisively.
in August 1938, he launched a dramatic raid on Kingsbury Run. Armed police stormed the shantytowns,
Rounded up hundreds of homeless men,
and set fire to the makeshift shelters, effectively destroying the Hooverville encampments.
Ness believed this would flush the killer out or at least deprive him of easy targets. But the move backfired. Public outrage followed, with critics accusing Ness of targeting the poor rather than catching the murderer.
And despite the bold raid, the killings did not stop.
The most dramatic discovery came in September 1938.
A young boy fishing near a factory stumbled upon
two burlap bags floating in the Cuyahoga River. Inside were human remains. Police divers were dispatched, and soon, the river gave up more body parts.
two victims, both decapitated, both mutilated, and chillingly, their remains had been deliberately placed where they would be easily found, within view of Eliot Ness's office window.
It seemed a direct challenge, a taunt from the butcher himself. The murders abruptly stopped after 1938.
But not because the killer was caught.
Ness announced that a suspect had been identified, a doctor named Francis E. Sweeney. Sweeney was a World
War I veteran,
a physician with a history of alcoholism and mental instability. He had trained as a surgeon and was known to be violent.
Ness had Sweeney placed under interrogation,
subjecting him to days of relentless questioning and even a primitive form of a lie detector test. Sweeney failed.
But despite this, no charges were filed.
Sweeney was politically connected. His cousin was a powerful congressman.
Instead of facing trial, he was committed to a mental institution. Ness quietly declared the case closed, at least unofficially.
But many, including journalists and amateur investigators, have questioned whether Sweeney was truly the killer or
whether the Mad Butcher walked free forever.
In total, between 1934 and 1938,
at least 13 victims were attributed to the Cleveland torso murderer,
though some estimates suggest there may have been as many as 20 to this day. The case remains unsolved.
One of the grisliest mysteries in American criminal history.
The story of the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run lingers not only because of the sheer brutality of the murders, but because of the unanswered questions. Who was he? Why did the killing stop?
Was Eliot Ness truly onto the killer, or did politics and public image overshadow justice?
Some believe the murderer was indeed Dr. Sweeney,
whose descent into madness fit the profile of a man capable of such horrors.
Others point to the possibility of multiple killers, preying upon the vulnerable transients of Kingsbury Run during desperate times. What remains is a legacy of terror bodies found in rivers, torsos abandoned in fields,
nameless victims whose final moments were stolen by a faceless butcher.
And at the center of it all, a city haunted by the shadows of a killer who was never truly caught. The Cleveland torso murders
remind us of a chilling truth. Sometimes evil hides,
not in the shadows of power or privilege, but in the forgotten corners of society, preying on those whose absence would barely be noticed.
And that is why the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run
remains one of the most haunting figures in the annals of American crime. Thank you for watching Crimes Through Time.
If you found this story chilling, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest chapters. And tell us in the comments, do you think Dr. Francis Sweeney was the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury
Run, or is the real killer still an unsolved mystery?
We'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, stay curious, stay safe,